The Bills Mafia. Their might shook the earth. McDermott nodded to the farm boy at the front of 70,000 Stronghearts. More than you can see or hear, but every voice you felt. Josh of Allentown locked the firearm onto a broken shoulder. It hurt, but it would have to hurt. Because over the rise screamed a purple horde of 67,000 Vikings.
Ooh-wee. Well, welcome to the official companion podcast for Buffalo and the Multiverse. I am your host, Cory McCants.
I am Travis Carlson, the writer.
And we are here to talk back about the next chapter, Week 10, Vikings versus the Bills. Man. So what we just heard was a clip straight from this chapter. And I'm talking goosebumps, man. That was, but before we get fully into it, how about you give us a quick recap of this chapter?
We find an injured Josh Allen, and he decides to ride out to battle against a horde of Vikings, but not alone this time, because 70,000 other Mafia folk hear the call and join him in what is the most epic battle that we have, and it will come at a very high cost.
Yeah, that was a great recap. Great recap.
Thanks, Corey.
So that's where we are in the story here. After the car salesman, after the Jets, after all this stuff happens, they were here. We're battling Vikings. Yeah. Let's quickly pivot and talk about what was happening in real life, like NFL game. This was game of the year.
This was game of the year.
Game of the year.
And I hope I do it right. I was trying to give it chapter of the year attention, which is easy to do when you have a game of the year to base it on. But the context back in the day, this was the first snow of the year. Literally happened this morning. I remember because the little Pan Am crew was shooting a short film, and we woke up the next morning to a beautiful snow landscape. The Vikings at the time were the only other juggernaut of a team. We had beat the Chiefs, so the Bills had very clearly stepped to pole position above the Chiefs. But in the other side of the NFL, the Vikings were in the exact same spot. So this was the two heavyweights coming to town. The Bills have a very strong first three quarters. I think before things turn, it's like 27-10 or something in the Bills' favor, and then the Vikings put on a huge comeback after the show gets started by Delvin Cook, James Cook's brother, his real-world brother, has a breakaway touchdown that gives them life. The Vikings find themselves in a 4th and 18. Game is on the line. Like, if they don't complete this impossible pass, then that's it, because they've lost, not enough time left. Justin Jefferson, with a bill, one-handed catches. Basically, it's one of Justin Jefferson's hands and two hands from our defensive back, and they go down. And somehow, it's definitely the catch of his career so far. So achieves that miracle. That's sort of an answer to a Diggs catch, which was also a one-handed grab with a huge third down at stake. The huge final stand that's worth. We spend a lot of time on the goal line in the real world with the Vikings on the doorstep of winning the game. They make at least 4, but I think it was like 8 attempts because of a penalty to get 1 yard forward into our end zone. They cannot do it. The Bills get the ball back. All we need to do, it's like maybe less than a minute left. We just need to get out of our own end zone. This is, everyone will remember with pain. It's a fumble. The snap goes poorly, and the Vikings recover in the end zone. They go up by 3 points. Must have been 3, because we fight like hell to recover a field goal in the final few seconds, achieve that, get it to overtime, and we do not prevail in the overtime. No. So,
for an epic real life game, you had to give us an epic chapter, and I think you attained it. So let's get into. So we heard the hook, right? We heard our intro clip. That was at the point of 70,000.
Yeah.
Bills Mafia coming down, which was needed. We needed all the help we could get.
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk a little bit more about that sequence?
About fictionalizing this story. I mean, to me, this was almost one of the easiest ones to get. We talked about before how like you can make a list of 20 ideas of like what everything should be, so you don't use your first idea. I use my first idea. What if the Vikings were Vikings? Okay, good enough. Let's start writing.
Let's go for it. Yeah.
So that's what happened this time. And just so you know, Corey, I grew up a Vikings fan. I was born in Minnesota. My dad was a huge Vikings fan growing up in Chautauqua County, and took an opportunity to move to Minnesota and to fish and hunt and all the things he wanted to do out there. So I was born there, and he transferred his love for the Vikings, Purple People Eaters, onto me.
I did not know that. I don't know if we can finish this podcast, man. I mean, you've proven yourself to be enough of a Bills fan, but that's interesting.
And I need to now reveal I still am a... I'm kidding.
I see the hairstyle, man.
No, yeah. When I was growing up on football, I was watching the Vikings with my dad. It was just like the 1997-98 Chris Carter and Randy Moss. It was very important for me to like level it up. So every battle we've had so far, at most, has been just the Buffalo Bills. So it's like at most it's 50 people. And this one, I wanted to bring in the entire stadium that's why I picked the 70,000, because we were all here. It's a home game. Now to feel like those guys are just 50 leaders among, Army Corps and cavalries.
I love it.
Yeah. 3 snowflakes landed on Hamlin, far east, before the mysterious door opened. No one was there. He stepped inside the empty sanitarium. Ornate, high ceilings, tropical palms, and fountains. The indoor garden and mosaic floor depicted a lost tribe. "Everyone feeling well in town?" asked a man called Wellington, scaring Hamlin half to death. "Yes, I know why you have come," interrupted another voice. "I will take it from here, Wellington." Out of the shadows, a gentleman adventurer emerged. The first man to settle near High Falls Spring. "Call me George," said the Eastern man. So, this will be different than the rest of the scenes from the Viking chapter. But there's so much here that I just wanted to share with listeners. I mean, and you. I don't know. So this is all a super loaded reference, and I'm just curious if anything came through, or if you're where's the audience? Do you feel anything about where we are and who this mysterious character might be?
I mean,
it's okay to say.
Yeah, I guess. Is this when Hamlin brings the penicillin? Is that what's happening here?
Yep.
So that part I feel, but this part maybe not so much.
Yeah. So we are in Rochester.
Okay.
So George Eastman is the founder of Eastman Kodak. And so the George Eastman House is a museum now in Rochester. So I just want to give a little love to our fans and supporters of the Mafia that are out there, and make sure that they're on the map too, which they are.
Beautiful.
So back in the day out west, their sanitariums would be the place to try to heal from specifically tuberculosis consumption. So that's where we find our 2 vampire-like safeties. Yeah, this Eastern man living at this High Falls Springs. High Falls is the waterfall that's in downtown Rochester. And as they walk through the hallways, they'll see framed photographs, like Kodak, copies of important documents like Xerox.
I love that.
And also, Wellington is a name that might not mean anything to you. This guy who comes in, "Everyone feeling well in town?" So Wellington is the doctor, the sideline medical trainer who's going to save Hamlin's life. So he pops up and meets Hamlin several chapters ahead of time in order to do nothing, but just to exist and to be a little thing. So something I think most people would miss. Go ahead. Yeah.
I think that's good storytelling. That's how you do it, man. So, to get that a bit of a like preview of what's to come. I think that's really smart. That's really smart. I love that.
So a little behind the scenes. for your next cocktail party, be sure to let the people you know.
Yeah.
Actually, Wellington appears earlier, do you know?
That's why we do this. That's why we have this podcast, to get the behind the scenes, the detailed stuff, and then stuff the average fan or viewer might not know, but we have you here. You know what I mean? So this explains it. Okay. So let's get into my clip.
Of the Grand Gorge, and a roar louder than the Niagara deafened his ears. He saw an epic expanse of blue and red and white soldiers en masse, patches of brave warriors, formations of men quilting the snow like hardy crops, blooming where they were planted. A full corps, reported General Bean from the command post. 35,000 Mafia folk heard the call. The fields were on the move, pressing in. A chessboard of tens of thousands of pieces sliding over the frontier toward the smoke. Then double it, sir, said a voice bouncing on horseback. McDermott kicked his own thoroughbred around to see Brittany on stallion, removing her Zuba's headscarf to shake out the ice. Another 35,000. Mounted. She gave a sharp look to her signaler, who raised a bugle to her lips. The crisp stings of the bugle's first call rang across the Niagara Canyon. 7 incredible brigades of women galloped out of the pines. 7 nations of the Haudenosaunee Army. Another full corps.
So, oh man, that intro. Like, I don't know if the way the viewers hear it right now is similar to how it can be heard, but I won't stop preaching to have this like in some headphones or in the car, because when you hear these sounds, man, it rumbles. So that felt like I was there. You know what I mean? I felt colder. I felt like powerful. So it's just so visual. It's weird to say like the audio is visual, but it is, man. It really like engulfs you. And that part is just the Bills, like Mafia being Mafia. That's what it is. Yes. That shows us the way we show up, the way we have our teams back. Yes. That is a like visual representation of what that is. And it felt so good.
Yes. You hit the nail exactly on the head. That's all it's trying to be, is like, Josh is a little wounded. No worries. We're all here. We're all here. What can we do? What can we do? And we can scream our heads off at the very least. We can support this team like crazy, which we do week in and week out. And also it's the men and the women of, you know, normally we see armies, you know, naturally, historically are mostly male, but Bills Mafia, absolutely not.
Nope.
We're all here. So that's good. And I love that we can give them just as much love and give some love to the Haudenosaunee. I just wanted to mention the 7 nations is, you know how many nations are part of the actual Haudenosaunee. There's 5, and then there were 6. So I did 7 because of our anthem of 7 Nation Army. I've kind of like mentioned that as if it's like folklore. It's a song that people sing before battle. The Hounds of Hell gets mentioned in a future chapter. The Wichita, like I'm going to Kansas and all that. So there's some of those. Again, all these are for me, I guess, but I just it's fun to share that.
It's also fun to figure it out. So some of those dots we may be connecting a bit at a time, but to hear it laid out is like, I could have kept going further with it. And so some of those references you pick up on, but maybe like, did he mean that? And the chances are, yes, he did. Chances are, if you think you heard something, it's definitely that.
If not, we'll always take credit.
Yeah.
Shouted Josh of Allentown, alone at the invading armada. Boomed the Bills' defending battalions. Viva los Bills! Shouted Josh, charging forward. Okay. You talked about the Rumble before. I mean, nothing is more, I don't care who you are. That's the ultimate adrenaline rush for any Bills fan.
Yeah.
Ryan Fitzpatrick screaming at the top of his lungs, where else would you rather? And 70,000 Bills fans right back at him. So powerful. The other thing is that the Vikings have such a strong pregame tradition as well. The Skull Beat chant is pulled from their pregame warm-up. And so it's almost this battle of these two, like almost musical cultures, or like war chant cultures. Like the Polynesian Maori warriors would have those insane haka chant. Oh. Yeah. Again, all I'm trying to do is be the, help make our culture feel like it's bigger and matters more. And so we've got our own hakas in a way. And
I would argue that this is probably what it feels like to be a player on the field, saying this, having this with the fans, to be a person and say that and to have that response. Like, if you don't got goosebumps going up here, like, I don't know what's happening, because that is just like that ultimate feeling. Yeah. You feel like you can do anything. And like we said before, like, if this is war, that's our war cry. And that is, we ready. You know what I mean? We out here. So you feel it. You feel that, man.
Yeah, and like any I've learned from Lord of the Rings that any good battle, Peter Jackson describes, is all about the build up. Like the actual fighting close-ups almost mean nothing and are like the least interesting part of any battle. And so in his movie The Two Towers, he's very carefully spent the entire movie trying to set you up for what it would mean for orcs to attack Helm's Deep. And so that was what all of this is trying to do too, is it's all about the anticipation build. And this was a playground to be exploring. I had so much fun writing this.
So this chapter is absolutely, like, everything is epic. Everything is epic in this thing. It's over the top in the best way. But even right now, for those that are just listening, so there's a page, there's a double pager where you see the Vikings lined up, right? And you see Bill's Mafia lined up, and it is just so beautifully depicted. But this war looks like something, out of a Lord of the Rings type thing. This is just crazy. And the blood is pumping just looking at this. But again, for those that to remind you, the book is so beautifully illustrated that you gotta see this stuff. And if I was listening to this for the first time on this page, hearing this while looking at this, my girlfriend's room, shh, you're yelling. I'm like, oh, right here, right now. You know what I mean? You feel like you're in it. But man, kudos to you again, because this is just, I can't stress enough how epic this whole thing has been.
And it's only epic because the game was epic. We played 17 games, but this was the game that deserved to go to 11. And not every game does, and some games are going to get lumped into 6, yada yada yada,
right?
Because that's what they are to us. But this game, totally deserved it. So to get any of these single individual players would be usually about 300 images to get to the one that I'm satisfied with. And you kind of start with a really rough prompt that's So for Josh, the prompt is usually show me Chris Pratt in a blue, red, and white Revolutionary or 1800s. Try to describe what he's doing, which gets me a close body shape, a close figure. Then I'll eventually keep pushing it and picking the ones I like. You think of it like a branching tree, and you kind of say let's turn more to the right. Okay, now let's turn more left, and you just keep getting more and more refined until you get to the flower that you're like, all right, that's going to be the one. Then I face replace to make it look more like our heroes, cut them out in Photoshop, bring them into another comp, and put them all together. So this was definitely the hardest but most important and cool file. So yeah.
That is so interesting to hear the process. Yeah. You didn't go to ChatGPT and say, "Hey, give me this image," and just paste it, and that's not what it is. This is, even using the AI, you had to use your own skill and artwork and vision to get it to what this is. Yeah.
And this realm has the best ingredients to harvest, replied the runaway little brother.
What's wrong with the fish?
Asked Kaki.
Fish and dignity.
fresh wings and wheat and wild berries and beef. Cheerios, iced cream, and Lucky Charms. Cocky, you would love feasting in this age. Feasting until the table is smashed.
Look, you forsake the Norse gods for luck. It is not our purpose to eat now, but to serve the gods of war. In Valhalla, heroes feast with Odin for all eternity.
When you talk about like the Avengers, right? One of the best things about the Avengers were like, I loved Iron Man and I loved Captain America. What would those two look like having a conversation together? You know what I mean? And like the Avengers, you get that. You get all these heroes interacting with each other and their own personalities. And so in the same way, if you were to talk about like the Currys in basketball or the Cooks in football, it's like, yeah, he has his legacy, he has his legacy, but like, what are they like at home? And so you managed to like put this thing together where they're talking to each other like brotherly, like you would love it here, man. Like you should, you know, and maybe that does happen when it's like, I'm a Bills player, why are you over there? Like, or when you got to go against each other. But it's just so cool to see that in this epic way. And this is like in the battle, they're about to go to war, and they're still like, you should be here. For my video game, there's like God of War. You know, like there's a scene in maybe 3 where Kratos is talking to Hercules, and they're like technically brothers. They got the same daddy. And you see these two giants like talking to each other, and it's like, I don't want to do this, but I will. And it's like, you should be, why are you doing this? And it's like, it's just so cool, man.
Yeah, that's sweet. Great. I think like I didn't want them to need to like actually like have a battle, like our swords are crossed. But they're having an argument. They're still like on two sides of basically like, you should be over here, you should be over here, and not able to see eye to eye. And yeah, I got to give just some references to like, again, like what a cook might love about the Buffalo Nation. You know, all the ingredients and stuff, but Lucky Charms. And this idea that when maybe a feast is so delicious that when you're done, you smash the table. Like, it just feels like right if Bill's culture was outside of the tailgate even more and more in a fantasy world. So, yeah, got to give respect to them. And then Delvin Cook is about to have an excellent, miraculous sort of push and really blows the game open. So. Definitely, we've in our version, instead of it just being a breakaway, he's going to make a kite out of a broken flaming ship, no fear, and sort of snowboard his way to the top of to New Fort York, our big fortress of Allentown, and changes the battle.
I want to hear what you got. Lined up.
Things are only getting more dramatic and heavy.
Yeah.
Josh was enraged. That gunslinger of the fairy tales ran down a galloping horse, but he was no folk hero tonight. In the battle of Norse gods, he was just Icarus, a liability, a spaz who couldn't get away from the fire of the sun. He punched at the bucking back hooves and drove them all into the snow. Ice ground into his face. Reality ground into his face. Skidding on ice, slipping away. His hubris for all, instead of some, lost him more. We could have put the game away. Real world Josh could have put the game away. We could have kicked it, made it 30-10, pretty hard to come back from, and pushes a 4th down. Like I said, I get the feeling reading between the lines that he was sort of adding a bit of extra push to McDermott to say like, you know, maybe too much influence to say, let's go for it, especially in the stakes of the game. And we can easily say that now that we have the benefit of retrospect to see, he threw an interception to Peterson, a nice Scandinavian last name, which there were so many sons, like son of Peter, whatever, that I made this one actually the daughter of Peter, because there's, wanted to give some of the Valkyries some love too and give them some credit, but hopefully Peterson's cool with that when he reads his copy. But totally dignified. So what we find ourselves, just like the real world Josh is running down the mistake. He's the guy who actually makes the tackle on the pick. And if you don't remember, Josh kind of makes the tackle, then he stays down. Like he skids and he's face down and he's lying flat. And he just like puts his hands on his head and just like screaming at the ground. And we're not sure if he's like injured. Clearly he's just super pissed that he got us into this position. And so that clearly is the moment to have this sort of break of like what is going on in his head at that moment of the boy Maverick in him, the savior in him, the pressure in him.
I was going to wait to say it for a different clip, but I'll say it now. Another part of this chapter, and good writing in general, is when you can make your viewers feel exhausted just sitting where they are. You know, unless you're on a treadmill or a step climber reading this or listening to this, you're usually sitting somewhere. And so to feel this exhaustion, and there's been a few movies, The Revenant being one of them, where you feel like you're in it and you feel exhausted by it because it's just so descriptive, right, and displayed. And that's kind of how I felt in this game, in this chapter. I did feel in the game too, but it's because they think they have it. They don't. Then they make up for it. Then they don't. And it's like, oh my God. So at this point in the story, this is when they shot the harpoons, right? And you can only do 3 at a time, and it's don't do a fourth and this and that.
This is the end of that. So they had achieved it, and all of Diggs' effort is gone now to waste.
Right. Exactly. And this was like, you don't have to do it. We're good. And so in this part in the story, it's they're getting off with our 27 dignity. Like we could get it all back. We don't have to get it back. Like we don't need to do that. Yeah. It's like, but we can. Right. And that's exactly what it is. That's exactly the feeling. Like, Josh, bro, we're good. Yeah. But he goes for it. And then the interception, and it's just like, to imagine if you've ever played Little League, if you've ever played a video, if you've ever played something where the stakes were on you and you feel like I let the team down.
So that's the thing. If the coach made that decision and it doesn't work out, Josh doesn't turn on the coach in this situation, or the character doesn't turn on his general to be like, oh, you wanted a pincer, but we ended up not making it.
Yeah.
But when you defy orders, push too hard, and then you fail, there is no one else to blame, and you feel it all yourself.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where we are.
Yeah.
And that's a universal truth.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So this one was, oh man, that was a good clip. I
think it's worth hitting a little bit. Like one of the framing devices of this whole chapter has been like a chessboard, and that's an easy like war metaphor and reference. Very good for football too. If anyone out there wants to make a chess set with football players, I mean, you've got your linemen, you've got your quarterbacks, you've got your receivers on the end. I mean, there's money sitting in that. Just got to get the molds. But use it for this battle. And I keep using it too because I just think it fits so well, especially with the characters of this game. So Josh, clearly a queen. He can go anywhere. He can do anything. Has the ultimate power, even though he's not the king, which would be, in our case, the coach. But with Kirk Cousins, the cousin of the king, I made him into more of the king character, who's the ultimate power, but he doesn't have the mobility or maybe quite the same skill set that Josh has as a queen all over the board. And so we start to really lean into that. Like he can move one tile at a time. His job is just to be standing at the end. Like that's all the king has to do. And I think the role of Josh on our team is he can do anything, but he's putting himself at risk at all times. The amounts of times that when we're watching the game, we feel like it is over. Checkmate has been declared. Yes. Bills won. Sorry, Vikings won. Checkmate. No question. No. The Bills have won. Checkmate. Yep. Cash out. Let's go home. Get the car warmed up. Oh, sorry. No. There's only supposed to be one checkmate, except it literally felt like it happened 100 times.
Yeah.
So here's one of those checkmates.
Talking proud there, boy. Talking proud, said Morse, clapping him on the good shoulder. But just prying and closing. You locked it. You locked it, Morse. Morse, you locked the gate, screamed Josh. No, you were standing right there. You locked it off. The unlocked gate collapsed open in front of them.
Splinters exploded from the flaming mouth of Skull.
So yeah, this is another comeback, I guess you'd say. This is where we really thought, all right, we recovered from that. We're up. We got it. Let's go. Let's wrap it up. You know what I mean? They're patting on the back and everything like that. And this
after such a defensive victory. I mean,
right.
We by all rights should have lost the game with the Vikings offense on the field, having battle after battle. Literally the closest thing to medieval warfare. If like just this push, it's the closest thing in real life that we have to that.
Yeah.
Where I feel like there's a Ridley Scott movie, Kingdom of Heaven, and many other war movies where it's just a collision of people, of knights or whoever, soldiers that just kind of can't move. It's just like a maw or melee, and that's what this football on the 1 yard line felt like. Just smash.
I do like the talking proud nod there. Talking proud. If you know Buffalo in like the 70s or whatever it was, that was like a thing of us. There was like a whole commercial about it, so talking proud, but that's like a Buffalo thing, and so I really did appreciate you adding that in there.
Yeah, maybe that's a part of their deeper. Maybe that means more to them because he's invoking a sacred phrase. But yeah, play the shout song. We've won the game, and then it's just trying to bring fictional life to that miscommunication between a real snap between these two guys, the center and Josh, and. I watched the highlights last night, and you can hear Vikings players being like, "That's the game! That's the game!" As if they won it right there.
Yeah. What I will say is, like, talking about how epic this entire thing is, this entire game. When you watch the highlights, I always go back to them because I always say the comments. In every episode, I feel like I've talked about the comment section, like on YouTube. Yeah. And it's just so good because it puts you back in there. All those comments are from, of the moments after the game. And one side is that you do see people talk differently about the Bills now. It's no longer like the washed up team. And that's what you've noticed throughout the season as you read these comments. But in this game specifically, and what I'm noticing, one is, the fans, at least the fans that are writing, and normally the ones that are writing are the most obnoxious, but these fans that are writing in these comments, whether they be Vikings fans, Bills fans, or neither, it's like the energy is like, we enjoyed that game. Thank you for putting on a good game. And it's not, there's very, at least from what I've seen, there's very little trash talk. There's very little, it's like they put on a great game. People are talking about what they did with watching their dads be fans and them as dads get to do this. Like it's the camaraderie in it. And so like where you paint this, like this is war, not theoretically, this is war figuratively. And outside of it, it's a game that does still bring people together, even though we're opposing teams. And so there's a beauty in that. But they also talk about like even the announcers, how energetic everybody was, and like the announcers of this game made it to, and he can do it. Like all of that was just amazing, but it shows everybody was in it. And so as much as there's that exhaustion of like what is happening, it was the excitement of like they won it. Man, we're happy. Wait, we didn't win it. Oh, they won it. Like, and it was this back and forth until you get to stalemate.
Oh, let's mention really quick. Just a reminder, Diggs is a Viking. He started as a Viking.
Yeah, I wanted to get into this.
Somehow got the Minneapolis Miracle. He made a catch that saved them in the playoffs, and would kind of go down as an all-timer, got named, which gets brought back out. Again, thanks for writing it, NFL, for me. Yeah, of course, because they're gods, and they evoke the gods of the past, so we would call it the Miracle. But yeah, then somehow Diggs and maybe even Cousins himself said, he's got to go. Something's not going right in that locker room. Justin Jefferson is the draft pick that is picked from the trade. Bills get Diggs, give away draft pick. That draft pick picks Justin Jefferson. Again, hindsight being what it is, fans can fill in how they feel about if that was the right call or not. But it was the call. It got us to this chapter, and then it's so interesting that within this, So maybe we're still honeymooning with Diggs, starting to see the cracks. I just love that Kirk Cousins can kind of be like, come here. That guy you got that you think is your best friend, watch him, because we banished that boy for and they're like, what? He's like our best friend.
Yeah.
And like, I remember Dion saying at the time, like, people are like, are you, is he lying to you? Are you nervous that like that's not the real Diggs? And he's like, I don't know. If he's lying, then he should keep lying because he's like the best guy I know. I don't know if we want to be the judge jury on that one, but yeah. At least we know there's a ton of drama in all this. It's so fun.
This chapter ends on a somber note.
Yeah, with any epic game. And any epic loss, like to me it was important that it needs to cost the fictional characters the same. He walked the main street of Allentown. A midnight sun had fallen to the earth and burned at the end of their street. Josh's heart burning with tension. Someone was in there, he muttered. Women and men of the fire brigade, true heroes of the Mafia folk, began to shout independently about what some shell-shocked boy already knew. Someone was in there, voices said. Strong hearts, count off. Yes, sir. Engine 1 here. And nothing. Where's Jay? Fast quiet followed. Josh threw his hands to his head. Voices boomed. Engine 1. Not even the inferno made a sound. How could it match the intensity of prayers? Yeah. So, in the spring of this year, there was a real fire in real Buffalo, and on Main Street. I don't know, do you remember this?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. So, yeah, and unfortunately a firefighter, Jason, passed away in that. So it didn't happen this week, but, this book is always it's never limited to the football content that happened in the 100-yard Rich Stadium. It's what happened to Western New York, and our characters happen to be the Bills and Josh and the Mafia folk, as Jason would have been one of them. And so I felt important to make sure that kind of got included in the storyline of what it was to be alive in that time period. And so yeah, DC Theatricks, a small business that our team loved very dearly. I mean, you had costumes from there too. So they were the biggest and the best costume shop for all the theatrical productions in Western New York. Several of the films that we did, the Murder Mystery we did together, and really good people. And it's super sad. I think it was a construction. What I ended up hearing was someone on the outside of the building was doing some grinding of metal, and some of the sparks got inside went through the wall and into the interior of the building. They weren't necessarily even aware of what was going on. And that would have caught some of that fabric on fire. And one of the most, I forget what they call it in firefighting terms, but the most amount of fuel you could have in a building, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so yeah, we lost a firefighter, and trying to give, like, if you can't tell, changes from the kind of fun and tragedy of losing on a football field to the cost and the real world cost of but a real pain gets assigned to this as well. So he was from Engine 2, and so that's why they're counting off, and they don't get beyond Engine 1. And trying to give some respect in the context of where it might fit, and to help tell the story of we've had the rise, we've beat the Chiefs, and this will become the slow descent of the season, even though we're still physically the best team. Yeah. So.
Yeah, this was definitely on top of the loss, talking about something, an actual loss. And it puts the Bills in a very tight space. But as we do, we have to move on. We have to continue on. And so that's what we do in our next chapter.
Yeah. So we will definitely get into that. What does happen in real life is that first snow of the year really comes back with a vengeance. Snowvember is days away from the Buffalo Nation in real life and in our story. So 70,000 snowflakes start to fall over this funeral.
Well, I only know a few things, but I do know in this next chapter we get to touch on my my gamer heart, the for the love of the game, the love of the gamer, and I was very excited to hear about it. I haven't gone past that, but I'm excited. I think if you are a fan of video games, specifically Fallout, you may really, really enjoy this chapter as well, and it gives you something to look forward to when we go against the Lions.
So we'll see you next week in Camp No Town.
There we go, Camp No Town. All right, this is our sign off. I've been your host, Cory McCants.
I'm Travis. If you want any of this stuff, you can go to panamfilms.com as always. Otherwise, we'll see you next week.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.